All right, we're starting shortly.
Awesome.
Yep. Let me confirm. Okay, I think we can kick off now. It's already 6:03 West African time here. Um, Hello, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Compass, and that code, relax, and repeat. This is an edition that is quite important for software engineers, right? I know that we're in a world where things are moving at a fast pace, and we need to get to a point where we can understand the balance between work and life. I mean, of course, you need to have your life in place. So, on this call tonight, I have my friend and a software engineer as well, Feishayo. Feishawa, I mean, pardon me, Feishawa Salami. Nice to have you on this call, Feishawa. How you doing?
Hi, Jamie Dyer. I'm fine. It's great to be here. Hello, everyone.
Yeah, it's nice to have you here. I mean, it's been a minute. Yeah, so we're going straight to it. Yeah, we're going straight to it now. I have a couple of questions for you. I mean, tonight is just going to be a kind of conversational open chat session
Mhm.
where you get to talk to, talk to like experienced developers, newbies, and of course, I mean, we just want to learn, right? And that's why we call it an open chat where, I mean, we are free to express ourselves, and then talk about life generally. Okay. So if we look at this topic, it is called relax, repeat, achieving work-life balance as a software developer. I mean, you will see that this is a very crucial thing in this age, right? We have a lot of things
Mhm.
taking our time. I mean, especially work,
Yeah.
the workplace, you have a lot of features to release, a lot of functionalities. I mean, it can be overwhelming sometimes, right? So tonight we're going
Mhm.
to start off with, I have a couple of questions on my notes here, and I feel, uh, I mean, it will be nice to give answers to those questions, right? So the first thing is, before we even dive into what work-life balance is, right? I would like to know. Can you tell us about your software development journey? I mean, how did you get to this point? Just less than 1 minute, we can, take it from there. All right.
Say, say. Yeah. Mom Salami. Like I said, yeah, I'm a software engineer. I actually studied computer science, and that kind of into the light of, what computing and the different areas of computing that one could go into. And then, yeah, I was studying computer science. Yeah, I then decided that, okay, why not go into programming? Also because, yeah, I was a bit challenged because and also the kind of people I had around me, my friends, they were really interested into it. And I was like, okay,
Mhm.
let's see what it entails. It should be fun. And then, yeah, I really liked it. And since having coding, it's been, yeah, great. It's been an awesome journey.
Yeah, woman in tech, that kind of thing. Great stuff.
I don't want to put
I mean,
too
it's been
much
an
focus
amazing
on
journey.
that.
I know, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's been an awesome journey for you. I know you've done incredible
Mm,
stuff in the tech industry. Okay, so now if
mm,
we look
mm,
at it carefully, what will you say? How do you manage your current job? I mean, it will be nice to, of course, tell us about your current job, your nature of your job, right? And how do you manage that job with like personal, I mean, responsibilities like
mm,
family and personal life, commitment. You're married, and you know, there's so many things to do, right? So how do you manage that work you have at the moment and your family, your personal life, something like that?
yeah. Thanks, Semi Dio. So basically, my current job as a software engineer, yeah, and what my day involves is I resume, right? I work remotely. First of all, I hardly actually go to the and then yeah, my day-to-day jobs involves I resume with work, go, And then yeah, work from 8 to 6, and yeah, and yeah. But combining having the whole life balance is something that really matters to me. Whenever I want to like move to like, oh, okay, what's what's the work life balance here? Like I remember when I was in my current position, effort as an organization do you do to ensure that your employees have a work balance? Because I've had experiences working with organizations whereby yeah, it was not so great. There was so much, basically personally for me, like right now, how I, achieve work-life balance as much as that. Considering the fact that I work remotely, in which if you're not disciplined, that's like another thing entirely. What I do is that
Wow.
every day I plan, I plan my tasks, and so literally I'm like, so today, right? What do we want to achieve? Right? I already know the task I'm most likely going to work on, and I already have my calendar of the time. Like, okay, these are the meetings I'm going to have this week. So I want to achieve at work. I want to achieve, at home, before work,
Mm.
after work. And really, this has really planned myself. Like, okay, so another thing I do is I really focus on this time frame is for work. So as much as possible, because working remotely sometimes also you what's the name? You find yourself because if you're not careful, right, you
Yeah.
would not do what you're supposed to do at that time. So I work in the allotted time for work. I really try to do that. Even my family knows that you don't disturb me unless it's really when I'm working. And another thing I try to do is I really take my breaks. Like it's like time it's lunchtime. I stand up and say, "Hi
Yeah.
guys, I think it's lunchtime. We should go." So that these are periods where you actually take a break and things like that. Really try to do, and I noticed that it really helped improve my work ethics, even my delivery, even my productivity. Also working as much as possible, 5 to 10 minutes break, maybe like after like an hour, 2 hours of working, of intense focus. I break it, take a stretch, take a stroll. These periods actually help to bring me back to reality and also reduce the stress. By the time I'm done with work, at the end of the day, not overly stressed, because sometimes when you had so much to do at work, you take that stress seriously also home, so when you even want to talk. Another thing that I try to do is I try not to take on unnecessary workload. And I try to be as
Yeah.
pragmatic
Mm.
as possible, especially with like if we have said we are going to do this, and that's where it comes into play, right? Then yeah, this is what we are going to do. I remind you, even if you're a PM, I remind you that this is what we said we're going to do, is going to affect our timeline. So we having that in mind, yeah, then you make sure that I close by 6. This is the time for me to close. Yeah, and then to maintain a good work-life balance is having a good physical and mental health. But honestly, as developers, we don't put so much effort into that part. We can wake up at 8 o'clock again to start that same line. Like whether it tells now, because most it might not tell so much, but it's gonna tell later. People should really try to put in mind, right? Your physical health matters so much. If you're not feeling great, take that loud, right? This is why you have it in your organization. Hey guys, I'm not feeling so great. I need to like when your body calls for the rest, you really need to try to rest. And also about mental health. Like as Nigeria, whatever this is that, you're feeling burnt out. It's definitely going to affect your mental health, like the way you reason, you be irritated so easily. Things will not just go and gel well so much for you. So yeah, not to waste so much time on that first question, you know, to try to achieve a work-life balance. Back to you, Tim there. Oh, there's a breakage in my voice. Um, can you let me know if it's better now? Oh, okay. 1 sec then.
Hel- Hello.
Yeah. Hi, David. I can hear you.
So sorry about that. I got disconnected. I'm having issues with my camera here. I don't know what's going on. But then I know I heard a few things that you mentioned, right? The strategies that you've used right over time to manage your work and life. Okay, so another piece I would like to probably talk about here is I think you mentioned like how to manage work life. I mean, already. So let's imagine that you know let's imagine that you have a pressing work, in the office, and something is calling for you, calling your attention at home, right? And this is like pressing, right? So how do you feel that? I mean, this is like a real life experience for many developers as well. So how do you manage this kind of situation, right? Do you leave the job and do you leave the work at that moment and say you're going home, or how what's the best way to address this with your manager, especially if you have a manager in place?
See. Yeah, like say how person is the issue, right? If it's an issue that is really, really present and looking at it, it really requires your presence, then yes, you should take it to your manager and say, hey, this and this and this is what is happening, right? I need to get off
Yeah,
work and I need to actually have that's what should be if such night, to be honest, then that kind of organization is not an organization that really, that is after your well-being, that is really after balance to an extent in your life. If it's really, a pressing issue, it's going to be very, very old parties. And
pressing.
yes, it should be a lot. For example, I give a scenario. In my current job, there have been situations whereby,
Mm.
for example, some of my colleagues, maybe something suddenly happened to their child, yeah, they just drop a message to the team, hi team, I just got a call that, something like this, drop off. And that is it. And because it is really obvious that this is something that needs immediate attention. But sometimes to we humans, we tend to like overdo and these things. So once you've not been seen as a liar, by lying about something that is not really that urgent, then I believe, yeah, you should not be denied this kind of a thing.
Can you hear me?
Also, yes, I can hear you. How is the sound, by the way? I know in the comments that some people said my voice is breaking. I need to
Okay,
know if it's
yeah.
better
So,
to know whether I
okay,
should change.
guys. Okay, guys, if you can share up carefully, if you can hear clearly, please let me signify in the chat box or in the comment section, please. If you cannot hear, please let me know so that we can work on the sound. If you can hear her
Exactly.
clearly, please can you signify in the chat box, please? Um, we'll
Awesome.
just
Okay.
let's
I
wait
can
for
say
one
it's
second,
better
please.
now.
Okay, yeah. So
Okay.
I said it's better. Okay, great, great. So what? Speaking of uh, like work-life balance. Okay, so let's imagine that I probably got let's say I got a job, right? And then do you think it's right for me to start asking questions around start asking questions around, let's say, what's your nature of work? Is it necessary do I have to ask questions like that? I mean, because sometimes you get a job and you don't know what exactly you are subscribing to. You get frustrated. I guess frustrating at that point in time. So, do you think we should ask all these necessary questions ahead of time before taking up the role?
Honest.
And if they say it's a rigorous thing, do you think that I mean, sorry, I have to move on, that kind of thing? So, what do you suggest? Do you feel that
Yeah, I get
can,
you.
yeah,
Personally, for me, it's
okay.
one of the questions I ask in all of my interviews. Reason because I've had instances that I worked with organizations that the stress was so much, and I didn't ask that question that time. And since then, I made up my mind that this is the kind of organization that I want, right? I want this, at least to be in that organization. So I ask for every of the company that I've worked in since that time. I please have, when they will say, so what questions do you have for us? All this kind of thing. Yeah, ask you, what is the work-life balance? How do you guys ensure and protect the mental health of your employees? And then also minus what they say, because to be honest, I've actually worked in an organization, or I did a job for an organization that I was told all this thing, and then when I got in, so another thing I've learned to, when they tell me this, I say okay. Then I go on to really look for reviews, on that organization in that area, and if possible, even reach out to employees that have worked there before. Not the ones that are working there, because the ones that are working there might want to be, very careful. Like, hey, but especially the ones that have worked there before, like, hey, I got a job, or I'm here. What is, how does the organization really work? Things like that. And yeah, that would really show inside. So personally for me, because at the end of the day, when you get in and you see that these things are not there, you have every right to raise it. That's maybe, when you're having one-on-ones with your manager or something. Like, I noticed this and this and this is happening, maybe we are not closing where we ought to close, or we are expected to walk overly overnight or things like that. I had to interview, it's just like you saying, like, under pressure, and then the pressure now comes. You cannot deliver under that pressure. Exactly. So it's good to ask these questions. This way they know what you want, and when they don't give you what you want, you have every right to ask for what. Temidayo, are you still with me? Yeah. I think it disconnected. Maybe we just need to connect back.
Yeah, can you hear me?
So, yeah.
Yeah, so it seems like the platform I'm using just keeps like disconnecting me. I don't know what's going on here. But I've switched to a better like provider already. So
Mm-hmm.
but I don't know if you can hear me now. Is it better now?
Yes, yes,
Apologies
yes. I can hear.
for apologies for the error. Apologies for that break in
Mm-hmm.
transmission. So I think what I would just move on into right now is I think we should quickly talk about what's going on in the industry right now. If there is a room for work-life balance, or my own opinion, I feel that from my own angle, I can probably speak about this as well. So for me, I feel that the tech industry is getting better, right? Because now there is a room for working remotely. There is an up for you to work anywhere in the world. There are some companies that offer perks, things like that. Yeah, and then I've seen companies where we have an interesting perk where you can take like 20 days, 30 days in the year, for holiday. And it's just incredible to see how the technology industry is changing gradually. Okay. So I feel from my own opinion that, tech is improving. I mean, not sorry, apologies in Nigeria. I'm not sure yet. I mean, some companies have not decided to adopt to Nigeria. I don't know why. Some people, I mean, there is fuel scarcity right now in Nigeria, Lagos, Nigeria, and it's just alarming. It's ridiculous. Like, I mean, I can't imagine how people are going through that every day just to get to work and to write a few lines of code, right? And I don't know. We're going to speak about that very soon. Talk about like the tech industry in Nigeria and how we can get better, right? But for me, overall, I would say that the tech industry is improving, and I can see a future of like working remotely. You have the option to work in person in the office and all of that. So great stuff. Do you have any different view from this?
I totally agree. Like the industry better, both home and abroad, right? Because yeah, I've had instances whereby it wasn't so great in some organization in Nigeria, for example. It's also in Nigeria, whereby yes, the company was really, really, putting so much focus on their employee, not being overwork and not burning out so much. Like they were really so concerned about the burnout rates, things they could
Hmm.
do to manage your stress level and all that. I think yeah, it's definitely going to get better. And also when we as the employees demand these things from the organization, so it's both ways. The organization, you ask them for it. I want this if you want me to stay. Most likely they would provide it because the HR almost like take feedbacks to the things that are really helping organizations to industry
Oh,
is getting better.
great, great. Thank you very much for that. So let's speak about, I mean, our zone, that Africa. Let's use Lagos, Nigeria, for as an
Mm-hmm.
example, right? Or I
Same.
mean, to avoid having to be too specific, Lagos. Let's just say Nigeria as a whole. Do you think, like, what exactly is going on? I
Mm-hmm.
mean, I've had conversations with recruiters, I've had conversations with HRs, and sometimes they give some
Mm-hmm.
very interesting, reasons why it's not even ideal for them right now. They are not matured enough, things like that. That people, you have to call them before they respond and all of that. And then you need
Mm-hmm.
enough time. You need enough time to do other things. You can't afford to go to work Monday to Friday, right? And
Mm-hmm.
on Sunday, when someone is asking you to deploy, that kind of thing, or Saturday, you mean you are trying to
Yeah.
hang out with your friends and you're hearing things like, please, can you deploy that application or a feature? I mean, can we just go live now? And you're wondering, like, I'm still going to work on Monday. So what exactly is going on with the tech industry in Africa? Like, how can we get better? Like, it's becoming. I mean, some companies are adopting working remotely, right? Of which I mean, I understand from the perspective of some HRs, where I mean, they feel that some people are not matured enough for that. But let's think about it. Like, what's the way forward in Nigeria right now?
Mm. Yeah, it's to be honest, the electricity to the internet providers, right? There is a lot of
Yeah.
issues like currently going on. This now productivity, like I've had instances whereby I had to carry my laptop because I either way I needed to be available for the meetings, and then suddenly something happened with the light, and I could not even give full power on my gen to
Wow.
work, right? Exactly, and I had like maybe go to a restaurant. I have to buy the food I didn't want to eat, just so I could use, so I could have power.
Another
But
point.
exactly, but it's a two-way communication thing. The companies cannot tell us that this is what is happening. That there's false scarcity. I've had these are some of the reasons why some organizations will be like, we want you guys to come to work. This way, you cannot give us the excuse of there was no light, or my internet connection was really bad. And these are reasons why some organizations don't really want to go the remote route because these are the things that would come up, and at the end of the day, yes, but I think there needs to be this trust, and also employees actually proving themselves that okay, give us the chance, right, and see how it's going to look. But I'm going to let you know when I have power issues, when I have that issues. Like companies need to be ready to be able to trust them, and I think that's one thing that is really missing in I use Nigeria for example because since I've worked in different organizations there, that they don't give that level of adequate trust. And to be honest, they're like tools that you can use to monitor an employee's this activity.
Yeah.
There are tools that will only take your pictures as you're working, as long as you're fine with this and you've agreed, maybe, in your contract. These are ways that organizations can use to actually monitor your working. There are even some that actually, the code you're writing and can say, okay, you did 66% of TypeScript today. And these are ways, and when as an employee, you know that all these are being used to monitor, right? There's no how, because you want your paycheck at the end of the day. No, you're going to do as
Mm.
you should do. But when there are now situations of control, yeah, then you should give evidence, maybe prove that, oh, okay, there's no light, there's no internet connection, and yeah, that is why I could not deliver. And in cases like that, personally, I would advise that try to find your way to the office if it becomes reoccurring, right? Because most
Mm.
times, even remote organizations will still have their offices for employees that need to that need, exactly. And so also
Yeah.
for us to have like a better work life balance and everything, companies should also be ready to support employees, like both physically, mentally, by providing resources, right? That, for example, you could give allowances on internet. This way I would try to make sure that I get a good, internet, even not use the regular ones that we always buffer. You can just add a bit of money.
Yeah.
That will encourage a better and all that. Also,
Mm.
for companies, what's the name? Even paid time off, like, oh, you're sick, you're down. They should not say that, oh, because you're sick. I know an organization, I will not mention the name. Once you're sick for 2 days, they remove the money from your salary. So when people are
Well,
sick, they don't
I've
want
been in
to
that
talk.
situation before. Yeah.
But it should not be that way. I should not, because I am not feeling well, and not be able to tell you. Because, to be honest, there's no how you're going to work. And that is why some companies don't even want to go the remote route, because they'll say, oh, you say you're sick, and or maybe you wouldn't even tell them. They'll just say that you're not online. At the end of the day, say it's internet connection. But it's maybe because the employee is actually down. But you know that if you tell them, they're going to remove it from your paycheck. Things
Mm.
should do and ensure that it's not in place. They should really encourage people. They should be able to trust their employees. I think that's, for me, like, that's where it really boils down into. Also, they should also have activities, like, for example, say, oh, hey guys, this month is going to be, thank God it's Friday. This Friday is going to be this. Everybody should try to
Mm.
find their way to so place. Like, let your employees interact with each other, shouldn't be, oh, delivery is in
Yeah.
2 weeks. Exactly. And so these are things that will really, really, force activity in an organization. And I think these are things that companies really adopt. And then they would see high productivity, people staying longer, no tech bros. We already jumping 1 year.
Yeah.
And those
I
really
mean, we
affect
move. We
we
move.
move. Exactly. So
Yeah.
I like these are few things I think that organizations should do.
Okay, thank you very much for that. Thank you. So before we continue, right, if you have questions, right, please feel free to use the chat box or the comment box right now. We'll be taking questions very soon. I mean, I want you to be honest as much as possible. Just be open, right? This is a session. This is a place where you can ask as many questions as possible, right? So please, I want you to ask questions, like clarifying questions that will help other people, on this live session. So please, I can't wait to have your questions and then we can answer them. Right. So I was thinking about something, right? I have a couple of friends, right, my software engineers, right? And I've heard this phrase repeatedly from them, and that's well, I'm a developer or I'm a software engineer, I have no life. What do you think is the idea behind, like, are we getting used to that lifestyle where you don't have any other thing I mean, is it because you don't have hobbies? I mean, what exactly is the reason behind the phrase? Like, I've heard it several times. Some people have even used it for on their wears, on their t-shirts and all of that. I mean, people just, they're so obsessed with the fact that they are a software engineer, they have no life. Like, what does it mean? Like, what does it mean? Like, I mean, I'm just curious sometimes to ask that kind of question. So what do you think? that means, right? For me, I feel it's not necessary. But anyways, let me share from your own side first.
Yeah, that is very true. You engineers says they don't have a life. Their social life is even zero, and they are so happy. Hope you
Wow.
can hear me clearly, just to confirm that.
I can hear you. Yes, I can hear you from here.
Awesome. Okay. Yeah. I this for every profession there is this or stereotypic thing where everybody stereotypes that profession and says it's just like engineers, yeah, they wear hoodie. Yeah, the thing with the oh yeah, no life, no time, totally. Why do engineers believe there's no life? Some engineers are greedy. I'm gonna put it that way. You see, I've had friends that were doing like three, four kinds of jobs at once. You can't have a life in
Wow.
that kind of situation because they have
Yeah.
a full time, then they have part time. Either way, they need to deliver for everything. So it's like once you're done with this one by 6 o'clock, you have to pick this one from so time. Use your weekends for this ones. So at the end of the day, just because I know there's so many opportunities flying around and the money, but like that alone is a very wrong sense of mind. Software engineers should really stop it. No, it's awesome, right? But if your work schedule is not really going to affect your primary work, then fine. You maybe if it's a weekend kind of a thing, you should not have a life such that at the end of the day you can't even sit. To be honest, also when I just started, there were so
I
many jobs
mean,
and people calling me like, "Hey, girl, come and do this, come and do that," And I'm like, okay. So, but it was so crazy that after my 8 to 6 work, I remember my mom came into my room like, "Is this how your life is going to look like? This is not a life." And then she left.
yeah.
And to be honest, it really hit me like, hey, do I really want to live like this? So that weekends I'm busy coding, not because I want to, but because I have a deadline. There's difference between, oh, I wanted to develop myself, or I saw this language
Mm,
and I want to try it. Those are very different as compared to you don't have a choice but to work. And since then, I totally stopped because it didn't make sense personally. So I didn't have time for myself. I didn't have time for my friends. I didn't have time for family. I couldn't even enjoy this money, that I thought I was making at the end of the day because so it's just like it's
yeah.
sitting in the back or what I'm using to buy food. Personally, I think and just that idea away from their mind that yes, to be honest, the profession is actually quite demanding, and then also why it's pretty lucrative because it's problem solving minutes that of what you're doing. But it does not mean that it needs to like take over all your social life. Should not be so stereotypic like they are in places and you just see them pressing their phone or they are not talking.
Mm,
No, it shouldn't be. We can be the life of the party and also be so awesome at what we do. There is a thing
yeah.
to separate that seriousness at work and that and awesomeness, like which is like it should be a conscious thing to say, oh, I want my interpersonal skills, my soft skills, to grow and not
Mm,
only at the end of the day. And I think those are need to really start doing.
yeah. Thank you very much for that. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Let me share an experience with you, personal experience. So I mean, as I started off my career, I mean, at the point, I was so obsessed with the old technology and then the old
Mm,
tool. I mean, learn a new framework, learn a new technology, and all of that. But then I realized that there is more to life, right? Than just waking up, writing code, solving problems, and all of that. I mean, a couple of my friends approached me and they told me that you're just a nerd guy. You're just this geek, just there, right? I mean, very boring guy. I mean, I barely talked to people. So one of the things I did, right, was the fact that I was intentional about my growth in that area, right? So for me, I would say that for a tech newbie, an experienced software engineer, or a junior developer, I think one of the first steps that you have to take, right? I mean, apart from the old 1001 tips that you see online, one of the first steps that you want, yeah, that you have to take is to be intentional about moving from just being a nerd to someone who has a balance, in their lifestyle, right? So you will realize that there's going to be a level of growth at that point in time. You'll be able to plan and say, okay, I want to be intentional. What are the things I want to do? What are the skills I want to learn? I want to be able to like relate with people more. I want to be able to like, I mean, I want to have my sense of humor, that kind of thing, and I want to be able to like have conversations, meaningful conversations. I mean, it got to a point that every single conversation I had with people, I would always infuse technology into the conversation, and like sometimes the jokes are dry. Like, what are you talking about, dude? I have conversations with people that are not like techie, like nerds, right? So at that
Yeah.
point, that's when you realize that wow, I'm improving. Before you now start moving into other things like going out, hanging out with friends, or taking some days to relax. I'm having a alone time, having a meditation time. That's another step another tip I'm going to share with you guys. I mean, another thing is there has to be a moment of silence, right, in your life where you're just quiet. You're not quiet because you're sober, right? It's not that. They're two different things, right? I mean, the world is moving and so many things are, calling your attention. I mean, every single day your phone is there calling you, your computer is telling you that, hey, dude, you need to write a few lines of code this morning. And then your boss is telling you that we have a deadline. And your kids are telling you that, mommy, daddy, I need this, I need that. And in the world, you need a moment of silence where you are just quiet, you're meditating, you're refreshing your mind. All right. So apart from being intentional, you need to have a proper structure in place. You need to have like moments of quietness, right, in you, so that it will help you to put yourself in order, put your time and put your space in order, right? And this is very essential, right? So I mean, that's just my tip, right, for people that, I mean, you're already in that situation like I was some years ago, where it was just a messy situation for me, to be honest. Like I didn't make friends. I was just like, oh goodness, what's going on here? Right. So yeah, that's it for now. So another question I think we should also look at tonight is, do you feel that the pandemic, I mean, pandemic happened 2020, right? The 2019, 2020. Do you think the pandemic um has done something like has improved like the whole work-life balance? Because I remember that working remotely was amplified at that time, right? So do you feel that working remotely or work-life balance has improved over the years as a result of the pandemic? Right, let me share your own opinion before I share mine.
Actually, I would say yes. I'd say with the whole pandemic, when it started, right, into of organizations realizing that, oh, okay, people can still be productive even when they don't come in, physically into the office, and every organization had to find a way to, restructure themselves to, having this happen. And yeah, personally for me, the company I was before this my current company, yeah, it happened during the pandemic, and we were there, and even have really, and so companies went back. We still stayed remote. And it personally helped improve productivity. For me, I would use myself as an example. Also, it really helped improve my work-life balance because, first of all, I could sleep till like 8:30. And yeah, that one rest was awesome for me. And I know that okay, now I have
Oh,
to resume, yeah, and yeah. So have a more, I would say, if personally, because I remember that having to go to work, Traffic, I could be in traffic for 2 hours. That alone has even stressed me. Talk less of getting to work and then, trying to calm myself that okay, you're no longer in that traffic. Now you need to do something, you need to deliver. And yeah, so I would say personally
Mm.
it has really helped, with improving, and I really try to shut down, right? And I don't need to use the road, my family. And so that's me having more time, right? To just spend and just relax. I go to bed early, and by the time I wake up again, the follow refreshed. And yeah, so to be honest, I didn't even fall sick so much, because the stress was really like way as compared to commuting to work. So yeah, so I would say yes, it has really helped to improve work-life balance and yeah, bring about betterly for me.
Wow, that awesome. Yeah, I think I agree with you because I mean things have changed now. I feel that the world we're now in the world where many companies are you know adopting working remotely. I think every software engineer should be able to leverage on this, right? To restructure their life, right? I've seen people who have told me a couple of times that they they have they have the time, but then they don't know what exactly to do with that. And it's some other people on the other spectrum, on the other part side of this spectrum, they say things like, well, I don't know how the time runs, right? It's just sometimes can be crazy. I mean, I have a lot of things to do, and 24 hours, I mean, it's gone for good. I'm like, what in the world am I going to do at this point in time? Okay. So we are in the world where you just have to plan your time, and that is where I mean that's why I think we should talk about different strategies, like different ways we can improve our productivity, right? And then have a balance in our life, right? So I'll speak to something. I think someone shared something profound in the chat box, which is um they said there's a line between monitoring and micromanaging, right? So the fact that I'm checking up on somebody to get things done um does not mean that it's still like micromanaging, sort of, right? I'm just getting updates, asking you for updates and all of that, right? I trust your competency, I trust your level of dexterity, but at the same time I feel that we need to keep track of progress, right? We need to keep track of our progress. So yeah, I mean, I agree with that. You can't afford to be micromanaging engineers, right? You just have to trust that they are competent and they will get the work done as quickly as possible, right? So let's quickly. We have a question here. I mean, two questions already that we're going to answer, right? But I want us to come up with different strategies that we can put it into work when it comes to working remotely. Like, what are the strategies that we should put in place, right? Number one for me, all the time, that works like magic, is time
Mhm.
management. Time management, right?
Yeah.
We have 24 hours, right? We have 24 hours to get things done. In fact, the 24 hours, you need at least like 8 hours of sleep from that. So you need to keep track or manage the rest of the hours you have for the day, right? And then there are tools. If you know that you're when it comes to managing time, you'll easily get distracted and you easily get carried away by things online, or probably, I mean, apps. You should have a proper structure in place where you say that I'm not going to check my social media until this time. I have X, Y, and Z things to do before I check my LinkedIn app, my TikTok, whatever platform that you are, right? So there has to be some level of time management. If not, you just discover that you don't have any time to have conversations with your family. If you have kids, they barely see you around because you are always indoors getting things done. You have blockers and you're frustrated and you're seeing the bug in your code base and you're like, how did you get here again? I just fixed one. Like, how in the world? So, time management is very crucial, it's essential for every software developer. You need to learn how to do that. In fact, as a tech newbie, if you want to learn smart, time management should be one of your tools. right? One of your tools that you need to put into place, right? It is very, very important that time management should be a part of you. You need to learn that so that when you're learning, you are learning the right way and at the right time, and you have the proper structure in place, right? You're not confused and you're not carried away. Okay. So that's one from my side, right? I don't know, Free, do you have another tip? And then probably I can share one more that we can answer questions and we'll call it a wrap for tonight.
Yeah. You've to be honest, you've actually said it. But another thing I would just add is setting attainable goals. Also, to be honest, it really matters. Sometimes, just maybe just out of being I want to do this. You see somebody say, I'm going to learn Angular, blah, blah, in 2 months. It's not possible. But we have, but yeah, sometimes we don't set attainable goals for ourselves at the end of the day. Then it looks like, oh, you're not achieving what you ought to achieve. Just have too much, put on your plate for a moment, comes into time management, at the end of the day. Because if you really plan this thing, you would realize, also by trial, going to work if I, combine four things together. I'm not going to give it my best at the end of the day. So it's really good to can achieve this way, it's going to help stay motivated with your work and you feel good.
Yeah, setting goals. Like that's perfect. So I think for me, another thing is I think I've mentioned before, being intentional, right? Motivation is great. People are getting motivated. Don't worry, just move on, keep pushing it. But you see, when you don't take actionable steps, motivation does nothing, right? So while motivation is fantastic, then you need to realize that taking actionable steps will go a long way for you, right? So, example, I know that I am poor in having conversations with people. Then I have to start sparking conversations with people, like having meaningful conversations. I mean, you can actually have plans, like you can have like plans ahead of time. So you don't have to start doing spontaneous for now. Just have a plan, right? Have a plan, which is what I said before, that you need to be actionable, like you need to take actionable steps, which is very, very important in terms of taking yourself away from that shield or that box and taking yourself to a level where you can say, well, I think I've tried this year. I was able to meet like 5 people. I was able to meet like 20 people. And what was the conversation? It wasn't tech. It was just something around maybe football or a movie or something more meaningful, right? Outside your space, right? I'll give an example. I was it 2021. Yeah. I I mean, normally I love music, right? I love music, and I know that Lagos will not permit me to start playing drums and then percussion instruments, right? So I discovered that I needed a replacement. I needed a replacement at that point in time, and it's something that will help me to, calm my nerves, right, and take me away from that point where I'm just thinking about coding, just writing coding, like writing code, solving problems, and all of that. So what I did was that I started learning a piano, right, as a replacement. So for me right now, if I want to take myself away from the work zone, the work mode, then I start looking at playing my music, enjoying piano, having fun. So you need to, I don't know, you need to just have other skills apart from coding skills. You need to have other skills apart from coding skills. So part of your intentionality is to learn one non-technical skill this year. Maybe being intentional, being serious with, if you have a family already, anyways, if you have a family already, like taking them out for dinner, or I mean something more meaningful, something more interesting, that they will not see you as a nerd, that dad is a nerd, that kind of thing. So you have to be proactive, you take actionable steps. One of my steps is to go and learn piano, and I'm enjoying it now. It's fantastic, and it takes me away from the work zone. I just play and have fun. Yep. So that's it. Thank you. Do you have another tip before we move to questions?
No, maybe I just a little on what you just said, which is, apart from I can code so good in this area of my profession, not even just coding, because
Yeah.
you never know what tomorrow brings, and it's yourself. And you can, for me, people that know me knows I can sell anything, literally. I really like
Yeah.
business.
Oh, but yeah, sell
and
to me. Sell to me. Sell something.
I really like to market things. And
Yeah.
what do they need here? What can I do here? What services can I provide here? And yeah, and that really also, gives me so much fulfillment. If I'm not a software engineer, I can still do
Mm,
this. So having multiple skills and knowledge with your work, I think, yeah, it's really, really one of the good ways for you to,
it's, I
have
agree.
more
I
fun
agree.
stuff
I
happening
agree.
in your life. Yeah.
Yeah, it reminds me of something. It's very funny. I've thought about that story like a couple of times. I'm like, what in the world? So there's this lecturer, right, in my school back in the days. He retired, right, from being a lecturer. You can't believe that they had to send back. This man was 80 something at that point, right? So he had to beg that, please let me come back to school so that I can teach. There was nothing. So he was already feeling sick, feeling frustrated, like sick. When they take you away from your work and then you feel like I have nothing left.
Yeah.
So the major question is, if you look at yourself today and you think about it, if they take software engineering or coding away from me right now, what do I have left? I think that is the point that you have to realize that you need a life outside your work. You need a life outside your work. Fundamental. This is crucial in this community, in this world that we have. I mean, so many things are moving at a fast pace, and I mean, you just need a life.
Mhm.
You need a meaningful life
See.
outside your work. I mean, especially people that are still, single, single, single. You're not married yet. Yeah, don't give. You can't afford to keep your kids, sitting for hours. I'm waiting for daddy to go live. Daddy is not live yet. So and if he doesn't go live, he's never going to respond to you. So your prayer as a family is say, oh, please, daddy, we want daddy to fix all his bugs. If not, he will never say hello to anybody here. So so please, you need to build a life outside what's the name, outside
Work.
work. I mean, one of the things I want to do this year, I'm trying to, if someone can sponsor me, it's fine. I want to like explore different cities, right? I mean, it can be in Africa, right?
Mm.
Just explore different cities, just enjoy. I mean, you don't have to go to the Europe just like some people. Anyway, I'll not see anything. But then anyways, there are a lot of interesting places to go in Africa, right? You can just start off with that. You can even start with your country, like Nigeria. We have nice places, right? Such as
See.
where Lagos is busy, Lagos is already.
Oh,
Ibadan is a nice place for the ancient experience, that kind of thing, like the 1890 kind of experience,
Abuja is nice too.
Abuja, yeah. I mean,
Abuja
people
is
people travel
nice.
to Abuja.
Port Harcourt.
So I mean, well,
There's so many
I'll be
places.
intentional. So this thing is also touching on that guy. You need to go to like at least three other cities. I think I've been to Lagos. I've been to Ibadan, of course, or your state. Imo State. Yeah, I've been to Imo State. Where else? Jeez, Port Harcourt briefly. Was briefly. See, second I
And
went back.
36.
Uh yeah, well, at least I've been to like five countries. No, not five countries, oh, five states. So I've tried now. I've tried. so, my guys, by the way, just you need to have a life outside work, and that's the summary of this conversation, right? So I'm gonna let us attend to these two questions so that we can call it a wrap for tonight. So the question says that, can you expand more on what your daily routines look like and how you handle distractions? TikTok is one of the distractions in this life. And I don't know how people are dealing with that. As a developer, you are looking at TikTok, like how do you want to do that? Like how in the world? So the question is yours,
Yeah.
Free.
Well, thank God I'm not really a TikTok fan. So I think
Ah,
that yeah.
good
But
for
yeah, I'll
you.
be able to. Yeah, but my day-to-day routine seriously is this. One, I work remotely, so it's not really like I have to. But I could go to the office, but I'm so used to not going. So I would remote
Mm.
day to day activity, right? One thing I really try to do is I try to wake up at least to me resuming work. Because I noticed that this really, helps me to be like I'm wide awake. I would have taken my showers. Like my brain is awake. Like, girl, we're gonna walk today. That kind of a thing. Yeah. And once
Mm.
45 minutes before work, what I do next is that I check my social media accounts because I know that I'm curious. So who has sent me WhatsApp messages? What is in my personal mailbox? What's happening on Instagram? Maybe I was checking it yesterday night and I didn't finish. Exactly.
Ah.
All these before to walk by. But once I have resumed and I've started a stand-up call, my phone goes like 10 miles away from me because that is one of the highest distractions personally for me. And over the years I know that it does not work for me. So I just at my work. So another thing I do is I really try to. I also had a help of a friend that shared how he plans his day-to-day activity. Literally,
Mm.
he plans his week, and I'm going to do this, and then it then picks it day after the other. Like for example, today I am going to do. So you break it into smaller tasks, and that is what really, really
Yeah.
guides me. Meeting, and then when I'm done, maybe I'm going to do, and that really, really helps me to stay focused. And sometimes, even after work, maybe quickly watch a YouTube video on something I didn't really get. I put it in a time frame because I also want to spend time with my family, exactly. So I would
Yeah.
say that's like the planning really, really helps me to focus and discipline. Personal discipline goes a long way. Another thing that I do,
Yeah.
right, to of my day to day work and balance it and all that is that guys, you don't know how important taking breaks in your work is. Especially we all have everybody has that their distractions like level like after one straight. Some people is short 30 minutes. Some people they can go as far as 2 hours before they get distracted. Like exactly whatever your time span might be, whether it's 30 minutes or 1 hour, it's fine. Always take like 5-10 minutes with body physical health to stretch your legs, blink your eyes, move your fingers. Ergonomics wise is really good, but it also helps to reset your concentration level. And you notice that by the time you
Yeah.
go back, you're going to be more productive. You continue to be productive actually. And yeah, so those are things that high personally they've actually worked. Also, when I am blocked, when I get blocked, like for example, I am walking, I'm not getting it. It's really frustrating. I've had situations where writing a code, boss decided not to leave. I was so hungry and
Hey.
frustrated. I took a long walk. I'm like, no, I must get you. But it doesn't
Yeah.
work. Over the years, I realized that just take a walk, listen to it or whatever is going to help you, exactly. And most likely by the time you come back, you see a fresh pair of hands. It's going to work. So those are things I do in my day-to-day routine and also yeah to handle distractions. Another thing
Yeah.
also, working remotely with family around, I really really make it clear that guys, this is my working hour. I am in the office. You cannot come into my office space and say, hey, we are hungry. No, it's not possible. Exactly. So whatever is wrong with you, as long as it's not a very serious issue, that you'll be able to pick up your phone to call me and say, this is happening,
This is
please
very
don't
important.
call.
Yes.
Tighten boundaries, exactly. And that really helps also to reduce distractions as much as possible.
Thank you very much for that. That was insightful. That was insightful. So let me quickly give an answer to this second question, and that we'll call it a wrap for tonight. I know it's past 7 o'clock already, West African time. So the question says that what advice can you give tech newbies on fast-growing technology, mostly through AI? Of course, open chats is here. You know, um, Can AI truly replace human jobs, right? And how can we balance this? So here is it. I've heard plenty of things about, well, Chat GPT, Open
Mm-hmm.
AI taking up jobs and all of that, right? While I understand that these technologies, right, can help you write code, right, can help you do a lot of fantastic stuff, right? But I still feel that I believe that as humans, we have something that the computer does not have, right? And which is your empathy, right? Your soft skills, the people skills that you have, right? While I mean, the computer, sometimes the computer does not really doesn't care how you take an information, right? Right. But then it just gives it to you as a chat bot, that kind of thing, right? It doesn't really care about your mood at that point in time. It just gives it to you based on the old algorithm. But for humans, you discover that sometimes when your client comes to you and gives you some sort of requirement, your empathy and your human mentality, right? Your mindset helps you to understand the person's pain point and helps you to understand the mood of that person, and you can provide a solution at that point in time. And that makes it very unique for for us, right? So I would say that while we're going to have chat gpt and other technologies emerge, I can assure you that there'll be more jobs, new jobs, and new technologies in town, right? But it will not, I mean, humans will not go into extinction. I can assure you of that. Okay.
Definitely. Yes.
Yeah.
And
So
maybe
apologies for that. So
just to,
go ahead, please. Go ahead.
yeah, like I just wanted to add one thing that yes, AI is here and is here to stay. It has been here, but we know people are just like really taking more notice. At the end of the day, it's going to be how can AI reach your work? And that should be the next focus, right? How can I use AI, to
Yeah.
make me work smarter, faster? Because that's
Yeah.
what it
Exactly.
does for you. But you still somebody need come in this part, you become wildly sought. So to do and people are already doing it. So if you don't have it in mind yet, it should be how can I come to work with my and yeah, you have nothing to worry. No, yeah, it's definitely
Yeah, so I mean, someone just said something very funny. He said, "AI will not take our jobs, but I think
yeah,
people using AI would take other people's job." I'm like,
exactly. Exactly.
but the reality, but I know that there are some of the jobs, like some of the roles that will probably go into extinction. If you remember, there's some roles that we have in this age that never existed some years ago. I don't know if you remember. I mean, example,
Yes.
product manager or like UI UX kind of thing. I mean, nobody really cared about that role, but then it came up as a result of technology, and that's what's going to happen with AI. AI will create more jobs, and that's the see. Here is it: if Google is ever going to hire you as a software engineer, right? They are never going to hire you based on your competency level, um, like your level of competence in terms of a particular framework or a particular language. Why? Because they know that technology is going to change, but people will remain, and then you will have the ability to be able to provide more solutions, right? So they are paying you to think outside the
Mm-hmm.
box. They're paying you to think. So they give you a problem, they want you to solve it. So the reality now is that it is not really about um what do you call it? New jobs will come up, but it is your duty to align yourself, to be flexible enough to blend into that new face, right? I mean, before we used to have just full stack. Now we have front end, we have back end, we have specializations. People are just specializing. Before, you write your HTML, you write your CSS, you write your JavaScript. In fact, you'll be the QA for the project. It's just one person that they will hire to build a product. But now technology has evolved, right? We've gotten to a point where we need to specialize, and that's one phase. The new phase or the new era is that humans will create the business logic, and computer can freely write the code. Do you understand? So it's a nice thing because now you will not have to write a lot of boilerplate code every single time. Like you know, you've done e-commerce like 1,001 times. You know what you're supposed to write. So it is stressful to say I'm starting a new e-commerce from the scratch. Why not just give it to a machine that will just write the code, just passing the business logic, and I'm good. And it makes the work faster, right? Because technology is changing. You have to learn how to blend. Don't get too obsessed with a tool. I think I've said it several times on my articles and everything, where people just get obsessed with technology and they cannot learn any other thing. You see people, I'm just a C sharp guy. I'm a Java guy. If you tell me to learn Python, I say, no, I'm not going to learn
No.
that. You have to learn how to blend and how to move from one technology to another, right? That way, even if AI is going to take any job, you are still there because you can blend and you can fit into any role at any point in time. That's the level, that's kind of mentality that you should have as a software engineer. All right. So I think, well, we've answered all the questions. Um, yeah, we've answered all the questions. Guys, do you have any other question? If you don't have any question, I think that will be a wrap for tonight. Thank you so much, Faye, Shewa. Thank you. I really
You
appreciate um having you on this session. I hope to have more of this in the future, right? So
yeah.
thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Guys, I want to say
Thank
big
you
thank
too.
you. I want to say big thank you for joining this session. I'm going to have another one next month. And in fact, it's going to be mind blowing. You're going to enjoy it. I mean, this is a new year. You shouldn't be rushing yourself into work again. I mean, this is a new year. You have to move at a reasonable pace. Just calm down, just chill. Don't be under pressure. Even if they're putting you under
Yeah.
pressure, say, "Sir, calm down, calm down. We are coming." Okay. So a lot of companies
So,
are reaching out to you already and telling you that, hey, please, we want to get this thing done. We need to get no, 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 no. Don't be in a hurry, right? Just take it one step at a time, right? So if you have any questions, you have any concerns, please feel free to reach out to me. Of course, you can reach out to Faishawa as well, my guest speaker for tonight. If you have any questions regarding your career, I mean, getting started in tech, I mean, feel free to enter my DM. I'm more than happy to help you and give you the best experience that you should have as a developer. All right. So, just by the way, I got the news today that 12,000 employees were laid off from Google. I don't know. But anyways, we move. We still have more jobs anyways. Thank you so much, guys. Thank you so much. And I
awesome.
can't wait to have you guys next month. So please turn on your notification. Once I post, I'm gonna of course tell you guys about the speaker and everything. We're gonna have a very nice time on this session. And hopefully I will have a copy of this on my PC, right? And I can share with you guys. Okay, thank you very much once again. I'm Temida Adefioye. Well, enjoy and peace. All right, Faishawa, thank you so much. And then we'll catch up later as needed. All
Thank
right. Cheers.
you. It was
Thank
great
you
being
guys.
here.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Bye.
Yeah, it was
Thank you,
fantastic. It was fantastic. Yeah.
everyone.